Hi, I wanted to take just a few minutes to tell you about SA1. I know you guys are working on outlines, and we'll talk about those in just a moment. But just so that you are aware of what's being asked of you. So I really want to get into um, the assignment topic page has a lot of words on it. I want to highlight the parts that probably are really getting into what's being asked of you. So this is what it says right here. Advertisements are designed to persuade and convince a select audience to purchase a product. You will select a commercial that aired during the 2022 Super Bowl or a print ad from a magazine. This cannot be an ad you've used for a previous assignment, and a picture of the ad must be uploaded when submitting the assignment. And write a 1,000-word essay that takes a position on how well the ad convinces the intended audience to buy the product, use the service, or whatever through the use of the rhetorical appeals. To be clear, you're going to address how the ad uses logos, ethos, and pathos to persuade its very specific audience and take a position on how effective it is. Um, you will also provide an in-text citation when you refer to your commercial or ad. Um, so I want to take just a second and look at two examples. I'm not going to fully read those examples. They will be attached to the email that this video is in. Um, but just so that you get to the point of what's being asked for you, because this is the meat of the prompt. The rest is just giving you advice on how you can analyze your ad. Okay. So let me pull up example one. All right, sample one uses a print ad. And I want to just point out a few things about this that has been provided here. First, let's go to the thesis statement. It says, this advertisement efficiently appeals to adult gamers, effectively persuading them to switch to Geico. So here she's using the word appeals, which kind of alludes to the rhetorical appeals. I would like for this to be stronger, where she says, this advertisement efficiently appeals to adult gamers, persuading them to switch to Geico through the use of the rhetorical appeals. I think that language is important, but she does all right here. She's also mentioned the rhetorical appeals earlier in this introductory paragraph, talking about reason, credibility, and emotion. So we understand kind of what she's talking about here. Next, in each of her paragraphs, she's going to talk about an appeal. So in paragraph one, she talks about credibility and how Geico establishes their credibility. Um, in the next body paragraph, she talks about reason and logic and how Geico uses reason and logic to appeal to their audience. Here, when she uses quotes or she's describing her ad, you see an in-text citation. For hers, it was just the word Geico. She didn't have any page numbers. For yours, if you were using a print ad, you would likely have page numbers as well that you would include. So if you did have page numbers, you might do Geico 45 if it was on page 45, or Geico 2 if it was on page 2, whatever your ad is on. Her next body paragraph focuses on nostalgia, which is an emotion. And so she talks about how Geico uses emotion to appeal to gamers to persuade them to use their product. And then she, in her final paragraph, talks about anger and hopelessness and those feelings. So she has two body paragraphs here on the use of emotion in this ad to persuade gamers to switch over to Geico. So then she closes out her paragraph, and then finally she has a works cited page. When this class wrote this paper, they were allowed to use outside sources. For this assignment, you are not allowed to. The only thing you will use will either be your print ad or the commercial that you have used. Okay. So I wanted to just, like I say, point out here a few things that she had done. So she has an introductory paragraph that has a thesis that mentions that it is effective, unless you don't think it's effective, your ad, but I would choose one that is effective. It'll be easier to write the paper. She mentions who the specific audience is, and she alludes to the rhetorical appeals. And then to organize her paper, she has a paragraph on credibility, one on logos, and then one on pathos, or two on pathos. Now, it could be that she chose an ad that had a lot of logos and a little bit of ethos and a little bit of pathos. So she could have done, if she used a different ad, two body paragraphs on logos or two body paragraphs on ethos. It really depends on your specific ad. Now I'm going to show you a second ad. I apologize. I said I was going to show you a second ad. I meant a second example. For this, this student was doing a commercial from the 2021 Super Bowl, and it was a GM ad. So I'm going to point out her thesis statement. She says GM's 2021 Super Bowl ad effectively employs rhetorical appeals to convince Americans of the superiority of GM cars by using specific images and sayings to appeal to the audience as consumers. So here she looks at this a little bit differently, but she talks about the use of celebrity and how that builds credibility in body paragraph 1. And body paragraph 2, she says that they target the audience by appealing to a sense of patriotism and competitiveness. So this would be her talking about emotion. So that's pathos. And her next body paragraph, she continues that emotional appeal, which she says, and talks about humor that's used in the ad. And then finally, she closes it out by talking about how not only GM uses the emotional and ethical appeals, but they strengthen their argument intellectually by including facts and figures through a logical appeal. So here she's talking about the logical appeal. Finally, she closes out with her conclusion paragraph and her works cited page. Notice here how she's completed her works cited page. This is likely what your works cited page will be, where you have the corporate author, which is the brand, the title of the ad, that you found it on YouTube because you likely did, the date that it was uploaded to YouTube, the website, YouTube's website where you can find it, and then the access date. So it would be accessed on. So all of this works pretty well. There were a couple of little minor errors with her works cited page, but so you'd want to double check that. You wouldn't want to follow hers directly, but she got to the main idea. The other thing is with her in-text citations, because this is a media format, you have to include a timestamp in addition to either the title of the ad or the corporate author. So her in-text citation could have said GM and then the timestamp, or the title of the ad and then the timestamp, or you could just use the timestamp since this is the only thing that you are going to be citing. But I think we need to talk about the timestamp. The timestamp is going to tell us when a specific thing takes place in the ad that you are using as evidence or as an example. So we know if we go to this ad that in the 0 hour, in the 0 minute, in the 59th second, I can find the thing that she described. If she had more than just that 1 second, you would do like here, it says that this happened at 1 minute and 26 seconds. If the example ran from 1 minute and 26 seconds to 1 minute and 32 seconds, you would just have a dash to 32, and that would tell me that the example spanned over the course of time. All of that to say, this is another good example. A third way that you could organize your paper, both of these organized by each rhetorical appeal, and both ads had, or both papers talked about one of the rhetorical appeals in 2 separate paragraphs. Another way you could do this would be to have body paragraph 1 explaining who the audience is and using examples from the ad to demonstrate how you know that's the intended audience. So that would be body paragraph 1. So after your introductory paragraph, body paragraph 1 on audience, and then body paragraphs 2, 3, and 4 would be on each of the appeals. So 1 on ethos, 1 on pathos, 1 on logos, in whichever order makes the most sense to you. That is another way you can organize your essay, but you can really do it however you see fit. The last thing I want to talk to you about is the outline assignment. So you were provided a template. You'll need to download that template or recreate it. And here is what you're going to provide for your essay outline. The first is it asks for a link to the commercial or a picture of your ad here. So I need to be able to see the ad. The next thing is you will just write out your thesis statement, and then the Roman 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, whatever, represents each body paragraph. You are required 4 body paragraphs with 2 pieces of evidence each. That said, I've given you enough space for 5 body paragraphs with 3 pieces of evidence each. You do not have to use that. If you only have 2 pieces of evidence, that's fine. You can add and subtract as needed, but again, you are required 4 body paragraphs with 2 pieces of evidence each. So what you're going to do for each of these is type out your topic sentence and then tell me what the 2 pieces of evidence are. There's no need to explain that evidence on the outline. You will do that in your essay. I just want to see that you have your topic sentences, that they support the thesis, and that your examples appear to support the point you're trying to make in that body paragraph. And then the final thing you're going to do is type out your full conclusion. It's important to note that what you do on your outline, you might change as you are drafting your essay, and that's perfectly acceptable. This is just for me to have a good idea as to what you're up to, what your plan is for your draft of your essay to make sure you're on the right track. You'll get feedback from me on the outline that says specifically, yes, you're on the right track, or no, we need to work on these things. Then you will turn in your rough draft. Next week, a partner will peer review your paper, and then you'll turn in your final draft. With rough drafts, generally, I check to make sure that you have completed one, and I check to make sure that you've completed your peer review of your partner's paper. But I give feedback on rough drafts only if you schedule a conference with me through Zoom. So, or unless you email specifically and ask a question. So I encourage you to turn in a good outline that I can provide you good feedback on this week so that you feel set up for next week. That said, if you want additional feedback, once you have turned in your rough draft, please, please, please set up an appointment with me sooner rather than later. If you have any questions, please let me know.